Your operational model is obsolete. Kyle Ashford said it like he'd rehearsed in the mirror. Probably had. He was sliding my security badge across his father's glass desk, that same desk where I'd sat across from Lawrence Ashford 16 years ago, when this company was 3 bad quarters from bankruptcy and I was the only one who knew how to read a balance sheet under stress. The badge made a thin scraping sound against the glass, like a poker chip being pushed all in by someone who doesn't know they're already beat. I'm Neil Porter, 50 years old, former Marine, current Chief Operating Officer, and I've got about 30 seconds left on the clock before I'm officially unemployed by a 29-year-old who thinks disruption is a business strategy. Behind Kyle, his chief of staff, a 25-year-old named Tyler Nash with a finance podcast and zero self-awareness, tried not to smirk into his oat milk latte. 2 more junior associates hovered near the door, clutching their phones like life preservers. I just stood there, hands clasped behind my back. Old Marine habit. Kyle was fumbling with his father's executive stamp, the brass one with Lawrence Ashford's signature etched into it. The kid held it like it might bite him. "Look," Kyle said, still not making eye contact. "We're building a tech-forward operation. Your risk-averse approach doesn't fit our growth trajectory." Tech-forward. That's what he called it when he wanted to burn cash on crypto integration and AI chatbots that couldn't handle basic customer service. I'd blocked 3 of his innovation initiatives in the past year because someone had to read the actual ROI projections. "I assume you've consulted legal about material personnel designations," I said. He blinked. "That's boilerplate. HR cleared everything." Tyler finally spoke up. "We're streamlining legacy systems. You understand." Legacy systems. That's what I was now. A 50-year-old legacy system that still used Bloomberg terminals and believed in actual due diligence. Kyle pressed the stamp down on a termination form. It left his father's signature crooked across the authorization line, smeared slightly. He stood up, clearly signaling this conversation was over. "Security will walk you out in 10 minutes. HR has your exit package ready." I bent down to pick up my badge, not because I needed it. They'd already deactivated it remotely, I'm sure, but because I wanted to see if he'd flinch when I stood back up. He didn't. Too busy opening a Slack window. That's when I saw it, framed on the wall behind him, slightly crooked, like everything else in this office now. The original investor covenant from 2009. My name was still on it, bottom right corner, in permanent ink. Key operational stakeholder, Neil Porter. I let myself smile, just for a second. Kyle didn't notice. He was too busy trying to figure out how his father's desk chair reclined. I walked out. Didn't grab the gratitude basket HR had waiting by the elevator. Some intern probably spent 2 hours assembling stale biscotti and a Starbucks gift card. Just kept walking through the lobby I'd entered every morning for 16 years, out to the parking lot where my '67 Mustang was waiting in its usual spot. The drive to Tahoe, I kept the radio off. 4 hours is a long time to sit with your thoughts when you've just lost the thing you spent 16 years building. My daughter Emma called around hour 2. I let it go to voicemail. Didn't want to tell her yet that her old man just got kicked to the curb. She's 24, working her first real job in Denver. Still thinks her dad knows what he's doing. I'd call her back tomorrow, once I knew whether I was the kind of man who'd let a punk kid destroy 16 years of work, or the kind who'd do something about it. By the time I pulled into the gravel driveway, the sun was starting to drop behind the pines. I kicked off my shoes, found the bottle of Blanton's I'd been saving for something, and poured 2 fingers into a rocks glass. Then I went to the back office and powered up my personal workstation. Not the company laptop. I'd left that on my desk, wiped clean. This was my archive. The encrypted server I'd built back in 2009 when I learned that loyalty was a one-way street and insurance came in the form of legal documentation. Password accepted, biometric confirmed. The screen flickered to life. I navigated to the legal folder and opened the funding covenant. Same document hanging in Kyle's office, except this version had all the annexes, all the footnotes, all the clauses that nobody reads until it's too late. There it was, Clause 14C, Material Personnel Designation. I scrolled down to the margin notes. Philip Cade, my attorney, had left a comment there 15 years ago. Any involuntary termination triggers breach remedy. Mandatory investor notification required within 96 hours. I remembered the day we drafted that clause. Conference room with bad coffee and 3 lawyers who all billed differently. Philip had insisted on it after the 2008 financial crisis nearly took us under. "If they ever try to cut you out," he'd said, tapping his pen on the draft, "this guarantees consequences." I'd laughed. "You think they'd be that stupid?" He'd looked at me like I'd just asked if water was wet. Eventually, yes. I picked up my phone, still had Philip on speed dial after 16 years, muscle memory, and called him. He answered on the second ring. No hello. Just silence that meant he was already reading the situation. "Activate the clause," I said. 16 years of insurance just matured. "Understood," Philip said, because unlike Kyle, he actually read the footnotes. I hung up, took another sip of bourbon, and watched the sun finish setting over the lake. Somewhere back in the city, Kyle was probably posting on LinkedIn about operational evolution. Tyler was probably explaining Web3 to someone who didn't ask. And me? I was just a guy with a fishing pole and a legal landmine that had been ticking for 16 years. The next morning, I took my boat out on the lake. No phone, no laptop, just me and the water and the kind of silence you can't buy. I caught 2 trout and threw them both back. Wasn't really fishing for food, just fishing. By the time I got back to the cabin around noon, my phone was lighting up. Texts from former colleagues, missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored all of it except one message from Philip. Titan Ridge received notification. Clock started. Titan Ridge Capital, our primary investor, the firm that had pumped $180 million into Ashford Systems over the past decade, the firm whose oversight team took compliance very seriously. I didn't respond to Philip, just set the phone down and made myself a sandwich. It took Kyle less than 48 hours to realize he'd made a mistake. I know this because my old admin account, the one nobody remembered to revoke, still had access to the internal Slack channels. I wasn't actively monitoring them, but I'd check in once or twice a day, mostly out of curiosity. Monday morning, the chaos started. Where's the supplier compliance tracker? Can't find anything post Q2. Legal is asking about the EU cross-border filings. Anyone know where those live? The audit portal just kicked back 4 submissions. Who handles traceability logs now? By Wednesday afternoon, someone had accidentally locked the internal server trying to duplicate my access templates. The quarterly audit deadline for Titan Ridge came and went with no submission. Nobody seemed to notice except the people who mattered. Kyle's response to all of it: "We're assessing current workflows. Stand by." Translation: they had no idea what they were doing. Kyle was too busy scheduling inspirational alignment sessions and posting filtered photos from his standing desk setup. His new head of operations, a guy named Bryce Colton who'd been Kyle's roommate at Wharton, posted a 3-sentence update that ended with a flexed biceps emoji. Spoiler, they did not have it under control. Thursday morning, 9:02 a.m., an email hit every executive's inbox. I saw it forwarded to me by someone still on my side. Subject line: urgent compliance review. Personnel change. Notification received. No emojis, no pleasantries. Just one line in the body. Per Clause 14C, please prepare supporting documentation for immediate audit. I imagined Kyle reading that email, blinking slowly, trying to remember what Clause 14C was, pulling up the investor covenant summary, not the actual document, the 3-page executive brief his assistant had made, finding nothing. Then maybe, possibly, asking someone to find the real covenant, the 200-page one with all the annexes, the one with my name in permanent ink. By Friday afternoon, Titan Ridge sent 3 representatives to headquarters. Diana Frost, their lead auditor, walked in wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Kyle's monthly car payment. You could hear her heels on the marble floor from 3 offices away. Sharp, precise, unforgiving. She brought 2 associates and a leather portfolio that might as well have been a warrant. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard about it. Heard she walked straight into the boardroom without knocking. Heard Kyle tried to shake her hand and she just placed her briefcase on the table instead. "We have questions about your recent personnel changes," she'd said, specifically regarding designated material stakeholders. That weekend passed quietly, for me anyway. I refinished part of the deck, read a book about fly fishing in Montana, drank coffee on the porch, and watched the sun come up over the ridge. For Kyle, I'm guessing it was less relaxing. Monday morning, my phone rang, number I recognized. Lawrence Ashford, Kyle's father, the man who'd built Ashford Systems from nothing, who'd retired to Tuscany last year to play golf and pretend he trusted his son to run things. I let it ring twice, just long enough to let him know I saw it. Then I answered, "Neil Porter." "Neil." His voice sounded different than I remembered, smaller, tired. "It's Lawrence." I didn't say anything, just waited. "I know you're probably busy," he said, "but we need to talk." "I'm retired," I said, "enjoying the lake." Long pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end, trying to figure out how to ask for help without saying the words. "Kyle made a mistake," he said finally. "Several, probably." Another pause, longer this time. Titan Ridge is threatening to assume operational control. The penalty is $45 million. We don't have it liquid. I watched a hawk circle over the water. Patient, efficient, waiting for the right moment. "That's unfortunate," I said. "Neil." His voice cracked slightly. "I need you to come back. Full authority, triple salary, direct board reporting. No Kyle in your chain of command. You should have called before you handed him the keys, Lawrence." "I know." "That was my mistake." "No," I said. "It was his. Yours was thinking I'd still be here to clean it up." Silence on the other end, the kind that stretches and fills with everything unsaid. "Will you at least think about it?" he asked quietly. I thought about Emma, about the voicemail I still hadn't returned, about 16 years of work and what it meant to walk away versus what it meant to come back. "I've moved on," I said, "but I do wish you the best." I heard him exhale. Relief, regret, resignation. Maybe all three. "Kyle's going to need it," I added. Then I ended the call. I stood there for a moment, phone in my hand, looking out at the lake. The trout were rising. Good day for fishing. I went inside, poured another coffee, and checked my email. That's when I saw it. The email was from Philip, flagged urgent. Subject line, transfer of control, pending final investor sign-off. I opened it. Effective upon final countersignature, Titan Ridge Capital assumes full operational control of Ashford Systems per Clause 14C. Compliance and strategy oversight will be advised exclusively by Porter Strategic, consulting as designated by investor preference. Porter Strategic Consulting, that would be my firm. The one I'd incorporated quietly 3 days after Kyle fired me, with enough soft commitments and industry relationships to make 3 competitors nervous. I read it twice. Then I forwarded it to Philip with a simple note. "Confirm boardroom readiness. I want the corner office this time." He responded within minutes. A photo of a nameplate already in production. Brushed steel, not plastic. Porter Strategic Consulting. Advisory Control. I set the phone down and went back to the deck. The coffee had gone cold, but I drank it anyway. The boardroom at Ashford Systems was silent when Diana Frost walked in on Tuesday morning. I got the details later from Howard Pruitt, the CFO, who still talked to me, said you could have heard a pin drop. Diana didn't sit, just stood at the head of the table, Lawrence's spot, the one Kyle had been using, and placed a small black box in the center. Looked like something you'd use to store backup drives or launch codes. "Contained within," she said, voice flat as sheet metal, "are the master credentials for Ashford Systems administrative architecture. All prior executive access has been revoked as of 6 a.m. this morning." Kyle sat perfectly still, hands folded on the table. The performance had been wrung out of him over the past 4 days. No more tech buzzwords. No more pivot strategies. Diana opened her leather portfolio and pulled out a document. "Your penalties now exceed available cash reserves. Per Clause 14C, Titan Ridge Capital is assuming operational control effective immediately." She slid the document toward Lawrence, who'd flown back from Italy the night before. Looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 days. Gray stubble, wrinkled shirt, eyes that had seen the numbers and knew exactly how bad it was. "Oversight and compliance will be advised exclusively by Porter Strategic Consulting," Diana continued. "Mr. Porter has accepted advisory rights. He will not be returning in-house. All communications with Titan Ridge must route through his office moving forward." Nobody argued. What could they say? Howard had apparently tried to speak up, asked if there was room for negotiation on the penalty structure. Diana had just looked at him. "Mr. Pruitt, you co-signed the covenant reaffirmation in 2021. This clause has been in effect for 16 years. There is no negotiation." Lisa Torres, the general counsel, had gone pale. She'd signed it too. They all had. Every reaffirmation, every annual review. They just hadn't read what they were signing. Diana closed her portfolio with a snap that echoed. Any questions? Silence. Then we're done here. She picked up the black box, kept the credentials, didn't leave them behind, and walked out. You could hear her heels all the way to the elevator. Kyle gathered his things slowly, Howard told me. Phone, coffee mug with some motivational quote about disruption, a framed photo of him and Lawrence at some tech conference where they'd both look so sure of everything. He walked into the hallway and stopped, because there it was, mounted on the wall outside the boardroom. Fresh installation, still had that new metal smell, a nameplate in brushed steel, backlit with soft LEDs. Porter Strategic Consulting, advisory control underneath, in smaller font. Compliance oversight, Neil Porter. Howard said Kyle stood there for a full minute, just staring at it. Tyler Nash had walked past, tried to say something, but Kyle didn't respond. Just kept staring at my name on the wall where his vision board used to hang. Then the elevator doors closed, and he was gone. I got the call from Philip that afternoon. It's official. Titan Ridge has operational control. Your advisory at $750 an hour, 8 hours, monthly minimum, remote work approved. They want you to recommend a new COO. I've got someone in mind, I said. Sarah. Trained her 5 years ago. She's at Meridian Tech now, but she'll come back. Not Sarah, Philip said. Different last name in our approved list. Right. Sarah Mitchell, then. Different person, same competence level. She's ready. And Kyle? What about him? Titan Ridge is restructuring his role. He'll report to the new COO. They're calling it SVP of Strategic Initiatives. Strategic Initiatives. That's what you call a position when you can't legally fire someone, but you can make them irrelevant. He'll need to approve all innovation spending through your office, Philip added. I thought about that, about Kyle having to submit his crypto integration proposals and AI chatbot dreams to me for review, having to justify every pivot, every disruption, every growth trajectory. That works, I said. That evening, I finally called Emma back. She picked up on the first ring. Dad, I've been trying to reach you for 3 days. Is everything okay? Yeah, I said. Everything's fine. Just had some work stuff to sort out. Work stuff? You texted me last month that you were thinking about retiring early. Change of plans, I said. Turns out I'm consulting now. Fewer hours, better pay, full remote. She laughed. That's the most dad thing I've ever heard. You get fired and somehow end up with a promotion, something like that. We talked for another 20 minutes. About her job, about Denver, about nothing important. It felt good. After we hung up, I sat on the deck and watched the stars come out. Somewhere in the city, Kyle was probably updating his LinkedIn headline. Lawrence was probably drinking something stronger than wine. Tyler was probably podcasting about organizational agility. And me? I was right where I needed to be. 3 weeks later, things had settled into a rhythm. I'd consult Tuesday and Thursday mornings, usually from the deck if the weather was good. Review compliance reports, sign off on major vendor contracts, occasionally veto one of Kyle's proposals when the numbers didn't add up, which was most of the time. Sarah Mitchell, the new COO, was good, better than good. She'd call me once a week, usually with smart questions, never with panic. The kind of person who read the documentation before asking for help. Kyle submitted another blockchain integration proposal, she said on one of those calls. Third one this month. What's the ROI projection? There isn't one, just a deck about positioning for Web3 disruption. Denied, I said. Tell him to resubmit with actual financial modeling. He's not going to like that. He doesn't have to like it. He just has to do it. I could hear her smiling through the phone. Understood. The consulting work paid well, better than my old salary actually, and I only worked 16 hours a month. The rest of the time was mine. I'd been fishing more. Started rebuilding the Mustang's carburetor. Even looked into that Montana trip I'd been talking about for years. Kyle sent me a LinkedIn connection request one morning. I saw the notification pop up while I was drinking coffee. Didn't accept it. Didn't decline it either. Just let it sit there, pending, like everything else he never followed through on. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, about a month after everything settled, my phone rang again. Lawrence Ashford. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Neil. His voice sounded different than the last time, quieter, older in a way that wasn't just about time zones or jet lag. Lawrence. I'm going to be in the States next month, he said. Thought maybe we could get dinner. Talk about the old days. I looked out at the lake. The water was glass smooth, reflecting the pines like a mirror. I don't know, I said. I understand. He paused. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, for what it's worth. I should have listened to you about Kyle. About the timing. Yeah, I said. You should have. Another pause. He's learning, you know. Slowly. Sarah's been good for him. Makes him do the work. That's good. Neil, He stopped. Started again. I built that company for 30 years. Thought I could hand it off and it would just keep running. Didn't realize how much of it was you. How much of it was the people who actually knew what they were doing. I didn't say anything. Just let him talk. Anyway, he said, the dinner offer stands. No pressure. Just if you're ever in the city. I'll think about it, I said. That's all I can ask. After we hung up, I sat there for a while. Thought about calling him back. Thought about that dinner, what we'd talk about, whether it would change anything. Then I deleted the call from my recent list and went back to the deck. The thing about revenge, if you want to call it that, is that it's not really about the other person. It's about knowing you did what you needed to do, that you protected what mattered, that when someone tried to erase you, you reminded them why you were there in the first place. Kyle hadn't learned that yet. Maybe he would. Maybe he wouldn't. But that wasn't my job anymore. Someone asked me once over drinks at a bar in town if I'd planned the whole thing, if I knew back in 2009 that Clause 14C would save me someday. Honest answer, no. I just knew that trust is expensive and insurance is cheap. I knew that the people who don't read the fine print are usually the same people who think experience is outdated. I knew that 16 years is a long time to build something, too long to let someone burn it down because they're in a hurry. So I built a fail-safe, called it Clause 14C, forgot about it for 16 years, until the day some kid in his father's office decided I was obsolete. These days I fish most mornings, work a few hours when I feel like it. The Mustang's running better than it has in years. Might drive it down to Montana next month, see what the rivers are like up there. Emma called last week, said she's thinking about visiting for Thanksgiving. Wants to see the cabin, meet some of my fishing buddies, maybe learn how to tie flies. I told her I'd teach her. Life's good, quiet. The kind of quiet you earn, not the kind that gets handed to you. Kyle's still at Ashford Systems. Still SVP of Strategic Initiatives. Still submitting proposals that don't have numbers attached. Still learning, slowly, what it means to do the work. Lawrence is back in Tuscany, probably sitting on some terrace right now, drinking wine, thinking about the company he built and the son he trusted too soon. And me? I'm right here, on the deck, watching the sun set over the lake. Glass of Blanton's in my hand. Nowhere I need to be. Nothing I need to prove. Turns out that's what winning looks like. Not the corner office, not the nameplate on the wall, not even the $750 an hour consulting rate. Just knowing that when they tried to push you out, you had the leverage to push back. And the wisdom to know you didn't need to return to prove anything. I was just patient. And patience, I've learned, beats disruption every single time. The trout are biting, the stars are coming out, and I've got nowhere else to be. That's enough.